Welcome.
Welcome,
Hey,
everyone.
what are you guys doing?
Welcome. It's another Wednesday.
Last Wednesday of October.
Oh
Yep,
my
the
God.
last
Isn't that
Wednesday of the
nuts?
month.
I
I
can't
can't
believe it.
believe it.
I really can't. What's
Uh,
happening?
Yep.
Anyway,
All right.
we just said
So,
Halloween.
um, we are here again on Open Strata Live. Today's show is going to be one of more of an educational session. Most of us edit our images. Some may not, but I mean, to get the most out of your photos, it's always recommended to do a little bit of editing. Um, Majority of us use Lightroom as our editing tool, a combination of Lightroom or Lightroom and Photoshop together. So with Adobe Mask happening right now, there is a couple of updates that have come, and Lightroom is almost completely revamped, right? So
Sweet.
far, I think this is probably the biggest update I have seen for Lightroom
Nice.
with this new improvements. And so we want to spend some time today, talk about some of these improvements and see how we can use them to improve our workflows, right? And how
Ooh,
we edit images. I think this update is going to change a lot of ways in which we do things, a lot of ways in which we edit and stuff like that. So it's going to be a fun one, and I hope it's going
cool.
to be very educative for us all. So don't forget. As we go through, you can always stop, ask the questions in the chats,
Yep.
and we will get to you guys all the way. So we start off with a
100%.
quick introduction. You guys know me. I'm Evans. This is my channel. All three of us have channels, and
Brando.
we rotate right from one channel to the other. So don't forget to subscribe to everyone's channel.
You put our
Um,
links, right?
right. Oh yeah, I forgot the links.
oh,
All
Just
right,
these are
I will put the
details.
links right
See what I
after the
mean? You
show.
see what I mean?
I think I put this up really late last night, and I was half
Yeah, it's
tired.
like
I
1 o'clock in
didn't
the
even
morning, man.
I
We're
didn't
not
chance
paying
to
you,
check
right?
everything.
We're not paying you.
All right, so I'll
Funny.
leave it up to Paul to introduce himself, and then we'll get started right away.
What's up, Rondell? Rondell also has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Hey,
if
Rondell.
Evan's gonna put his link up, but you guys should go check out Rondell because he's really good. Pop those links. You know how it is. You know how it is. 2021. Thanks everyone for jumping on for another Wednesday. Like we said, it's the last Wednesday of October, which means Halloween's coming. So for those in the audience that are in the Toronto area, for those I don't know, I run a photography meetup group called Get Out Shoot, and we're doing a Halloween meetup on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock downtown Toronto. Going to meet at Union. We're all going to dress up and walk the downtown streets and get all the looks from the passerby. So I think it's going to be a hilarious meetup if everyone comes actually dressed up, because I think that's going to be the hook. So if you want to come, just come. The details are in the meetup group. GetOutShoot.com events, and we'd love to see you there. I don't know if Andre or Evans is coming, but I'm not sure if you guys are coming or not. But
I should be.
are you?
Dress up, everybody.
Rondell's coming, I think. I
Dress
think
up.
Rondell's coming. Oh, Brian's in it. Brian also has a YouTube channel. Brian is busy tonight, so that's what he told us, but he's in the chat. So he's also on this show. So anyway, it's a long story, but there was a meeting after last week, and now he's on probation. Yeah, I think Jessica's coming to Sunday, and who knows? I think Brian's coming. So
Awesome.
that's my pitch, and yeah, my YouTube channel. I do all kinds of crazy stuff, and once Evan puts the link, go check it out. And I'll be doing a video on Sunday, so that'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, thanks for jumping on, and give it to Mr. Andre.
What's up,
Who are
everybody?
you to do?
Andre Vonnegush here, Brampton photographer, videographer, all that good stuff. I've shot everything from weddings, family, light painting, and steel wool. That's the stuff I really like to do. And yeah, don't forget the photo challenge. We have the fall colors photo challenge. So
Do it, because
still got a couple weeks for that, but
I know there's some parts in my area that are still green. like what's happening?
it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be the foliage.
I
It can
know,
be
I know,
anything,
I know, I know.
anything
Yeah.
fall colors. So just incorporate those.
That's how my mind, that's how my brain works.
Trust me, I'm having trouble myself. I'm like,
Thanks, Bryan. That's why he's on probation. Make us work.
Okay, so
Good stuff.
let's kick it off.
All right, so I'm gonna jump into Lightroom right away, and then we're gonna start. I just want us to have some fun with this, see how creative ways in which we can use some of these new features. So I don't have the old version, but let's jump right away into the develop tab. I have a couple of images loaded. We'll play around with them. These are just basic shots that I have loaded up here just for tonight. And if you look up here, you're going to see that before you used to have in the right hand corner, I'm looking at right about here. If you can see my mouse moving,
Yeah.
you wish to have all the brush tools, right? The local or the targeted adjustment tools. You still have the crop, you have the spot removal tool, you have the red eye removal tool, and now you have this masking tool. So you see that all of your targeted adjustment tools are now gone. So now you have all of them underneath this one tool, masking. Now, under the masking tool, once you open it up, you have these two top at the top are practically brand new. Select subject and select sky. They are pretty brand new. We're going to spend some time on this, but these are really key and really very good tools. Like I said, this update is one of the biggest I have seen so far for Lightroom, and it's I think it's a step in the right direction, right? These two at the top are what you would call your automatic selection tools or your automatic masking tools. So let's try select subject first because this image has a subject. So if I go in and we click select subject, what's going to happen is it's going to go through and try to detect the subject. And when it's done, as you can see, it marks out that subject for you. This is more of like something we used to have in Photoshop back, where you will go into Photoshop to make a selection. But now you can do that right here within Lightroom.
That's pretty good, actually.
It is pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Now, I want to demonstrate to you guys some of the abilities that this now brings to us, right? Now, there's a lot of stuff that I would use to go to Photoshop to do that now with this, I can now do easily in Lightroom. I'm not going to go through the full editing of this image, but let's take a look and see what we have done here. What we have done is we've selected the subject. And even though when you look on the selection options, you only have two, select sky and select subject. What it means is that as long as you can select the subject, right, then you also already have a selection of everything else, right? Because all you have to do now is take this selection, and there's a couple of ways. You can invert the selection here, right? And now you have the background selected.
Oh.
And so let's say I want to work on the background alone. I want to brighten the exposure on the background because this is maybe a high key image, right? Right there, I have almost a plain white image. And as you can see, the selection left out some of the chair, right? So you can see some of the chair in here. There is also a ways in which you can adjust this selection. So if I select this selection, I have an option to subtract from that selection or to add to the selection. Right. So if I click subtract, then I have all these options. So these are your old targeted adjustment tools, but they are all right now under this masking tool. So if I want to mask with a brush, I can now select my brush. And this is now a negative brush because we did a subtract.
Yeah.
Right. And then I can take out some of these chair.
Nice. Okay.
Just like that, I have added in back that chair to the selection, right? And just with like that, we've taken the image from this to that, and we still haven't even touched the subject yet, right? That being said, it's now more easier for you to kind of work on your subject and your background separately.
Yeah.
So if I want, I can now take the same mask and I can duplicate it, or I can create a new mask, select subject again, right? Give it a few
Mm,
seconds to make the selection. And now once once you select a subject, right, or you create a mask, what, because none of these sliders is moved, you're gonna see only the red overlay
right.
for the selection. As soon as you start to move the sliders, the overlay it's gonna be hidden, so you can see what you are doing, right? So
Yeah.
just like that, everything I'm doing now, it's only affecting the subject, right? And
Hmm.
so I can now work on the subject separately and then work on the background separately. And all of this was done with the selection in 2 or 3 clicks.
Damn. Shout out
so
Adobe for
so yeah, like I
that's it.
said, this is one of the best updates I have seen in the Adobe
Yeah.
Lightroom space
Yeah.
for a long time. But they are also very useful. There are a couple of other um, adjustments they did this time around, but I'm not going to go through them because they are not really important. They're just some of the
Yeah.
metadata stuff and stuff like that,
Mm,
which are not really beneficial. But this right here is the key because it changes the way we've been editing with adjustment layers and
yeah.
the brushes and stuff drastically and for the best as well,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm,
And so this image right here, if you come up to the top of your mask panel here, you can see that I have made 2 adjustments, right? So I have mask 1 and mask 2. If you
mm,
hover over the thumbnail, it will tell you what was selected with that mask. And if I hover over this one, it will tell you what is selected as
mm.
well. Now, at the same time, if you can also um, create as many masks as you want, right, based on your selections. As we go through, we're going to do some complex, a little bit more of a complex masking situations because, well, sometimes you want to do a little bit of an advanced kind of selection, right? And so we're going to go through some different aspects of how we can leverage these tools as well as all of the old adjustments tools as we know to create more refined and enhanced marks as we go. So this was a simple demonstration of the
Mm,
select subject tool. Now, just to make it a little bit more interesting, let's say on this mask here, I selected the subject, right? And I want to turn this subject into black and white. I can
nice.
easily just do, maybe let's
Yeah.
just do it the easy way,
Yeah.
desaturate the colors, right?
Yeah.
Now I can come back in here. Let me create a new mask. And for this new mask, I'm going to start off by selecting the subject again. And with the subject selected, I'm going to invert it. There's 2 ways to invert it. You can invert it right here or inside here. If you open it up under the subject 1, you have these 3 dots. These 3 dots gives you contextual menus for that, where you can duplicate that selection. You can intersect that selection with something else, with a brush or a radar gradient. You can now also invert from right here, right? So now
Mm,
that I have this inverted, I want to subtract half of the image of the background from the selection. And so I'm going to come here and I'm going to click my subtract tool. But this time I'm going to take on the gradient or the linear gradient tool, right? So once I select that, now I can hold down the shift key, drag from here, coming
mm,
in, right? And what that's doing by holding down the shift key is that my line will move in a straight line, right? So I'm going to select that, come up to here. But I think I want to make an adjustment. I want to make sure that the feathering on my gradient, it's not so, I don't want to feather it. I want a hard edge. So let
mm,
me reset this for a second. Control Z to get rid of that gradient. And then let me take a look, come back here, create a subtract. Let's select the linear gradient tool. And where are my brush options? Hmm. Okay, so let's just do it with this,
Weird.
and
Yeah.
then bring this down. I'm going to select half of the image up to somewhere around here. Let go. And now what do I want to do? I want to turn that side black, right? So what do? I'm going to take my exposure,
Mm.
bring it all the way down. That's why I didn't want that gradient. I was hoping I could get rid of it, but that's fine. Let me bring my blacks down a little bit. Um, why am I not seeing my brush options for some reason? I wanted to get rid of that feather.
Come on, Adobe.
Hmm. I would have to check because when we had the original
Yeah.
target adjustment tools, we
Yeah, it
had
was
the
there, right?
option to, yeah, to feather out the brush and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I can't seem to locate it for some reason.
What?
All right, so we'll take a look at that later. But there we go. We can create these kind of gradients right here within it, right? And you can
Mm.
create. What I wanted to do was to create half of the side of the background black, and then the other
Yeah.
half of the background as
White.
white.
Yeah.
But I can't seem to figure out where my brush options
If
has
anyone
gone.
knows in the audience, let us know,
Let
or
us
else
know.
this is really embarrassing.
Yep, because we are trying this out now, right, live, so it's okay.
I love live
But
television.
but
Weird. I don't know.
that's it. You can create different selections with this um, kind of method and play around with it. So let's take a look at this image. Moving on,
Okay.
and
All right.
in this image, it's a very simple image. Normally, you would come in and you will start off maybe opening up the shadows, bringing down the highlights. But what if you want to target the sky alone, right? Or you want to target something in the foreground? So in this instance, you're gonna come in here, go to your masking, and you have the second option, which is the automatic selection. And this one is select sky. So let's see what that does. Once we select the sky, it's going to keep working. And as you can see, it has perfectly maxed out the sky, right?
Mm.
So if you zoom in and take a look at the
Hi,
edges,
Kim.
you
You
can
think you said
see.
hi? Sorry.
Oh, hi, Kim.
She's
So once we're here, and you're looking at the edges, just look at
okay.
that selection, right? Sometimes even if you try to do this manually and you're trying to make a selection of the sky, even in Photoshop, where
Mm.
you have the trees meeting the horizon, sometimes it's really difficult to do.
Yeah.
But right here within Lightroom, this has done a really good
Yeah.
selection for you, right? And so
Jeez.
that selection now becomes your base
Right.
for starting your adjustments. And so right here, if you just want to work on the sky portion, you can just bring down your highlights, right? And as you do that, you're only affecting the sky, right? You can even touch up on your, temperature. If you want to
Mm.
cool it down, you can cool it down, and it cools down just the sky. For this image, it wouldn't make sense to cool it down because of the reflection in the water. But just as an example, you could do that, or you could warm up the
Yep.
sky however you want to, right?
Yep.
And you have all of these with just one click
Wow.
selections.
This is why you pay for the subscription, just for
Yep,
this.
just for these updates, right? The
This is why
updates
you
comes up,
pay.
and this is what you pay for. And so
Other than
with
Ben,
this.
Ben has a question or a point or something.
Oh, it says further depends on how far you drag the
The
gradient.
gradient
Start at
and
and
closer
end
to the
closer to the middle.
middle.
I'll try that, but I know that
Okay.
I used to have that brush or the gradient options where you could manually adjust the feather and the and what do you call it, the flow, right? Maybe that's only for the brush. Maybe confusing. Maybe that was only on the brush, but yeah, there we go. So these are some of the things you can now do very easily, right?
Wow.
Just working on the sky alone, right? And because you have a selection of the sky, you automatically also have a selection of the foreground, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can now take this, right? You can take this and then duplicate the mask. And with this mask duplicated, you realize that because I have made adjustments on that, the
Mm-hmm.
adjustments
Yeah.
doubles, right? Kind
Yeah.
of multiplies the effect that you created. And so you can just reset that and you can now invert that mask. And now you have the foreground selected, right? And so you
Yeah.
can also
All right.
now begin to do whatever you need to do on the foreground. If you want to bring out the shadows, right? If
Yeah.
you want to play around with the highlights in the water, right? Bring
Yeah.
back the blacks a little bit, right?
Where was this
And
shot?
so this was
Is
Andre,
this your photo?
the place behind me, yeah.
Heart
Okay.
Lake.
High Lake, yeah.
Shout out to
High
Heart
Lake
Lake.
Conservation. High Lake Conservation. So you know, this update, like I said, it's a very big one
Yeah. You
because
wonder why they
it
did
now
that.
makes it, yeah, it's,
You
I
wonder
think,
why, like, they want more people using Lightroom. You think less people are using Lightroom now because everyone's going to Photoshop, so they're trying to get more users on Lightroom. Like,
well,
you
it's
know?
not just Photoshop. I think it's they had to do something because everybody is now working towards all of these AI stuff in their
Yeah.
raw
What's the thing?
processing.
Sky replacement.
Yep.
Replace the sky, right? You can do that. You can do that in
What do you call
Photoshop.
that? Luminar.
Luminar.
Now they have Luminar Neon. There's all these,
Yeah.
and then Affinity Photos. There's all
Yeah.
these apps coming up with smart features built in,
Yeah.
and I think Lightroom for the while has been lacking behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's good to see that they are beginning to make some improvements. I think there is more that they can do. Luminar offers layers. I don't see why we can really have layers in here.
Yeah.
Well, with this
Wow.
masking system, you kind of have sort of layers, but it's only on the mask level, right?
Yeah.
Not layers for your entire edit, but
Yeah.
it's still a welcome improvement from where we were maybe 3 days ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great
Yeah.
step forward.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. So
Hmm.
that was just an example. Within the options here, if you want to see your before and after,
Mm-hmm.
each of the mask has an eye on it, right? Which
Okay.
will hold down to show what that mask is doing,
Mm.
right?
Does
And
it show
then
the
this
history
one,
too? Does it show the history?
yeah, if you go into the history
Oh, yeah.
panel here, you have
Okay.
all your Adobe
Yeah.
Lightroom history stuff here. But if you want to see what you have done with all the masks you have created, just
Mm.
toggle it up at the top here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the before and this is after. And what we've done is just use masks, right? And then once you have this, you can continue to edit. If you want to add some contrast with a curve or something, you can continue to do what you have to do with this image, right? Add some contrast and continue your edit from there.
Nice. Okay.
There is one that I want to show, and this one is this portrait, right?
Mm.
Now, this portrait, let me reset. I think I did some edits to this. Nope, I haven't. Okay. This was a test shot, right? Normally, my test shots I will discard because when I'm using off camera flash, I try to get my ambient exposure looking the way I want. And then I
Yeah.
add in the flash to balance it out. Now,
Mhm.
in this image, this is the ambient exposure, and you can see that the subject just blends in with the background.
Yeah.
So, what if I want to highlight the subject a little bit more? Right, I can start off with the basic adjustments, and let's see, maybe bring out the shadows, right? I can go a little bit more on the shadows, but this is just global adjustments I'm making, right? I'm making global adjustments to the image.
Mhm.
But what if I want to target the subject and bring her out a little bit more? Then we go back to our masking, and I can just select that subject again, allow Lightroom to do its thing. And
Oh,
once the
jeez.
subject is selected, and
That's
as you
pretty
can
good,
see,
man.
it does,
Jeez.
yeah, it does really good selections, right?
Yeah,
In
really.
this image, I can see that it's selected a little bit in the corner here that is not part of the subject, but that's fine. You can always take out.
Yeah, take that out.
Yep, take it out by just going to subtract, use your brush, and just take out that extra selection that
Woohoo.
you don't want, right? And right there. And
Hmm.
if you accidentally, let's say, accidentally take out something that you need, then you can use an add, right? And a brush, and there you go. You can add to it as well, right? Roughly, and you've done a good selection. Up until this point, you will have to do this in Photoshop,
Yeah.
right? As until this update, all of this you could have done. Well, you could have done it in Lightroom, but you're gonna have to come take the brush and manually paint
Paint it and
everything,
yeah.
right?
No
But
one's got
now
time for
with
that.
the automatic selection tool, it gives you that base selection, and you can refine that selection and start
Mm.
working on it. So with this done, if I wanna improve the exposure on the subject, I can bring the exposure up a little bit on her, or I can use the, you know, the shadow tools to pop her out a little bit more. Um,
Hmm.
bring her out, and just with those, we've taken that from here, right, over to that. She stands out a little bit more, but
Yeah.
that's not the end. If I want, I can duplicate this or create a new layer, select the subject again, invert that selection once the selection is done,
Mhm.
right? Invert it, and now I can work on the background. So let's say I want to bring the background down. I want to, you know,
Yeah.
maybe not too much, but like bring it down a little bit.
Make it
Um,
warmer, maybe. I don't know.
make it, yeah, make it, bring down, warm it up a little bit if you want to. All right. You can now do a lot of stuff. Oh, and by the way, this, let's say you have an image that the background is too sharp, and you also want to maybe defocus the background a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Watch this. As I bring my texture all the way down, or
Mhm.
even bring my clarity all the way down, you can see, and I'm going overboard here so you can see the effect on YouTube, but you can see how all of a sudden I kind of blurred out the background
Yeah.
a little bit more, right?
Nice.
Right
Okay.
here, just because you now have that option to select your subject and leave the background
Mm.
out there. And by the way, I use this trick as well for skin softening. Except that if I'm going to do skin softening, now I can come back here, create a new mask. And this time I'm not going to create a selection. I'm going to just take my brush tool, right? And I'm going to make a rough selection just around where skin is. Not perfect, but I just want to quickly do something just to show, right? So
Oh
I
yeah,
can
if you're really
quickly,
doing this, you're gonna take your time,
yeah,
zoom
if you're
in,
doing this, you're gonna take your time, zoom in, make sure you're
and
making
just
a
yeah.
pretty good selection. But for a demonstration, we can just move on fast.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
with that selected, I can now bring down the texture, right? And just watch the skin. You can see I'm doing it overboard because I want you guys to see on YouTube. I won't go this much, but now you can see, if I take on the before and the after, right? You can see how I have just softened the skin, um,
Yeah.
right here, right?
Nice.
And so,
Quick and
yeah,
painless.
quick and painless, right?
Quick and
So
painless, man.
Yep.
for it makes a lot of sense for us, especially those of us who shoot events and weddings. When I have a lot of images from an event, I don't have to necessarily take as many of them into Photoshop. I can do a lot more now in Lightroom, right? And only go to Photoshop when needed because I can do all of these selections with a simple click. I think Rondell
Damn.
says Adobe latest add on $20 per
Yeah.
month.
Well, Rondell's like need layers in Lightroom.
I like that one.
So Adobe's gonna make money.
All right. So
Great
guys,
though.
as we're going through, if you have any questions or there's anything
If you want
else
us
you
to edit
want
a
to
photo
see,
for you, send it in.
let us know. Yep. Okay, so let's take another example. And this time I want to take what do I want to do? Let me see. Let me just take one of these images.
Mm.
This is a
Mm.
drone shot from the same place, Hard Lake
Heart
Conservation,
Lake.
my favorite spot to hide out.
This is Chrome for a Luminar. This is like a Luminar right here. Boom.
Right.
Asteroids.
So this is just a drone shot raw. I haven't even touched it. I just pulled out random images from my stack of stuff that I haven't touched yet. And you can start off by just maybe doing whatever you want to do, bringing it out.
Yeah.
But I want to select the sky because I want to work on the sky a little bit. Um, I'm going to take now on. I'm going to take my masking tool right here again. And well, in this instance, because we've been doing too much of the automatic selection, so let's try the linear gradient tool. And if you want, you can select the sky, right? Coming down all the way up to here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've made this selection. But in fact, what I really want is to select the sky, right? I could just use the select the sky, but I want to show you guys some of the powers of this tool. I want to show some of the um, other options we can do. So with this selected, what I want to do is just invert it, right? So it's going to select from the bottom coming up, but you can see that because it's a gradient, we have some of the, oh, here, this is what I was looking for before. The gradient uses this for the feathering.
Mm. There it is.
Yeah, this is what we use for the feathering on the gradient. Perfect. Okay, so with this, you can see that some of the sky is still selected, right? So assuming we don't want the sky selected, or we want to take out and just select the sky, right? I can do subtract, but this time, instead of me taking the brush or even the linear gradient and manually trying to do that, I can subtract the sky from this selection,
Okay.
right? So I can come in here, subtract, and then just select the sky and just wait and watch for it to do its thing. And there you go, right? The reason why I did it this way instead of just saying select the sky is because I want to show you guys that you can take all of these and
Mm-hmm.
combine them, right, in different ways to make a selection. And so you
All
can
right.
combine all of the different tools to end up with your final selection that you want. We're going to do a little bit more of an advanced selection in a second, but this is where we go. So we had a
Okay.
selection made and we asked, Lightroom to subtract the sky from that selection. Okay, and so now if you want to go ahead and edit the bottom part of that image, you can go ahead and do what you need to do. Open it up, right? Bring in some shadows.
That's cool. Make it a
Make
little
it
bit
cold a
colder.
little bit. Yep, it's a
Mhm.
little bit colder. So if you want, I'll do the colder on all the image maybe later on, but I can just now, you know, take the same mask, duplicate it, come in here and invert it. right? Um, reset
I
what we have
upgraded my
done,
soap.
and then just come on, kind of play around with this one a little bit, you know, whatever you want to do. Just rough edits here and there, and you can play around with this in any way you want. There's a couple of things I wanted to show in Photoshop, but maybe we'll leave that for another day, because now you can also in Photoshop use the neural filters and just convert this image from summertime to wintertime to
Oh
springtime
yeah.
with just one click.
Uh-oh.
Oh
There is
man.
some new amazing tools in Photoshop, the neural filters,
Jeez.
that allows you to do some crazy stuff. You can take another image and just say, take the colors from that image and apply it to this image, and within one click, you've got a good starting point.
Oh
So
yeah.
Yeah.
maybe we'll take a
Wow.
look at Photoshop at a different time. But tonight, let's just focus
Mm,
on Lightroom. Now, another example, maybe quickly. Let's see what I want
a lot
to.
of purists are losing their mind right now.
Yep,
Uh,
yep. Now, I haven't been as excited about, any Lightroom update as this one,
Yeah, man.
just because, well,
Great that they
this
sponsored us. That's
this is
fantastic.
a big one. So
Oh
the
jeez.
next selection we want to do is go in here and take a masking tool, and I want to do a color range,
Okay.
right? So you select on the color range, you get this eyedropper, and let's click on the blue,
Mhm.
right? And you can
ah.
refine that range.
Mm,
You can refine it to include as much as you want, right? But right here at a certain point, I can see that headdress, the white in headdress is also selected, right? So
yeah.
you can now go back, subtract, and I want to subtract the subject,
All right.
right? It's going to do its calculation, and it looks like it actually subtracted a lot more. This time it did not work
Huh.
as I wanted it to.
Do it
Oh,
again. Do
you
it again.
got it broken. So here, so look what happened. It just, let's try it again.
Do it
I'm
again, man.
curious.
There's a bug. You gotta report the bug.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happened. So let's delete all of these masks. Delete
Ooh.
it. All right. Let's start over. So what I did was I went to the mask and I did select the color range and I selected blue. All right. It selected some of the subject, and then I tried to subtract the subject. Let's see what happens. It could just be because of the colors that we are selecting, but oh, it worked this time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that time it
That's what I
worked.
that's
Bug
what I
Nice.
averted.
that's what I wanted to do. So that's good. We can still refine our selection here, right? And so with that, now I have all the blue tones selected. And if you want, you can go ahead and use this color tool to now begin to
Mm,
shift that blues, right?
yeah.
And change the color. Um, so many different ways you can use these tools
Yeah.
for the selections and stuff. You
It's
can
Adobe
use
calling.
this.
That's Adobe calling saying sorry about the bug.
I know it's somebody trying to locate the house phone was I didn't even know I had it down here.
Just say it was Adobe.
All right, so that's one of the options I wanted to show. You can
Crazy.
really make some of these
That's
selections. Now,
cool.
these tools are not new, right? Um, don't forget these tools are not new. The tools here are not new. The color, the luminance range, and all these
Yeah.
tools, they have existed in Lightroom for a while, but now we get to be able to combine all of these tools to make one selection, because before
Yeah.
you could only use a linear gradient selection, or
Yeah.
you could use a brush selection, but you could, to use both of them combined, you had to manually make those
Yeah.
selections. But
Ah,
now you have that ability to combine any of them into one selection or one mask, right? They call it masking, but at the end of the day, it's just making a selection, basically, right? And so this is gonna make life very,
Yeah.
very easy for us when we are editing, right? So just with that, I did not
Man,
have to go around and paint and fuzz around with so many things, just trying to isolate the subject. By
no.
just selecting the color range and then subtracting the subject from it, we managed to just highlight and change the background. And so this is what the image looked like originally, right? And then we just slightly shifted the colors in the background to bring it out to a different tone.
Love it.
cool.
Love
Okay.
it. I love it. I want to edit now. I don't have anything to edit, but
Right. So we have a few minutes left. I will wait and see if someone has questions. If not, maybe I'll edit this last one.
all right.
But I think by now you guys all have an understanding of how these
Yeah.
tools are working,
And you
and
just did a
how
YouTube video on this,
you
right?
can combine them. I did a small short video on it,
Okay.
posted yesterday. You guys can check it out
Yep.
after the fact. This one is just an extended version whilst we are here on Open Shutter Live, so we can all kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
talk about it. But there is a short, I think it's
Cool.
only a 5 minutes video. If you want a quick way to refresh your mind on this, there's a quick 5 minutes video on my channel
Check it
going
out.
through that. Check that out.
Check it out.
So, what do you guys think about these new updates?
Man, I'm excited.
Yeah, I
I'm
gotta go try them out.
I need to.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with this guy?
Oh, this one, I just wanted to play around with it. Same way, like I said, um, for me, I've been shooting with a lot of off-camera flash,
Yeah.
right? And that's mainly been the fact that I don't like, well, I like natural light,
Yeah.
but this is short natural light, right? For me to bring out the person or the subject, I'm gonna have to bring out my shadows, try to take down the highlights a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let me use this image because I think this image will work better. As you can see, this image, natural light shot, I exposed for the background, try to keep
Right.
um the light in the sky from blowing out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But what you get is that the subject becomes really dark.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to work out this image, normally you're gonna end up bringing out the shadows. Don't forget, when you bring out the shadows, the image becomes more blue. So you're gonna have to bring out the and warm it up a little bit. And I'm doing rough edits here, maybe,
Yeah.
and you want to bring down your highlights. At this point, the image to me usually kind of looks too flat,
Yeah.
right? Um, I can go ahead and try to maybe bump up, use the curves to add some um, kind of contrast, right? And this is way too much, but you get the picture, right? And still kind of get a workable image, right? And which for me, I never really like that because it usually too flat. But now with this new easy selection tools, or before I could have manually gone in and tried to make a selection of the subject, but well, it's time consuming.
Yeah, man.
Now I can easily do the same thing, and
Did it.
with the new selection tools, right, I
Yeah.
can easily target just that subject
Nice.
and work on the subject. So if I want to bump exposure on the subject, I want to bring out the shadows on the subject, right? Just like that, my editing life has become more easy, especially for
Mm.
natural light images when the subject is underexposed to preserve the highlights.
Yeah.
And I can now duplicate this mask, right? Reset everything I have done on that and invert it. And like I said before, I can bring down my exposure, take my highlights down. You know what I mean? And now I have a better
Yeah.
feel to this
Yeah.
image
Much
without
much
it
better.
looking too flat, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because it was
Nice.
easy for me to just select the
Mm.
background, highlight the subject out, right, without too much selections or too much manual stuff to be done. And for me, this workflow works better for me,
Mm.
especially in naturalized situations, because now I can, especially with the cameras these days, with so much dynamic range,
Yeah.
even
Hmm.
when you underexpose, as you can see here, the data is there. This was taken with the A7 III, and you can see that all the data in the shadows were there because this is the original image, right? All
Mm.
the data is still there on the subject, right? But how do you bring it out easily, right, without blowing out the skies that you work so hard to preserve when you were shooting,
Mhm.
right? And this new tool makes some of these things very easily attainable now than before, without having to
Yeah.
necessarily make your image flat. And all of
Yeah.
this I have done with just that selection. I haven't even touched anything here yet, right? But now the image is at a level where I can now begin to edit the image on a global level,
Mm.
right? Um, and not worry about any of those, kind of flat looking images that I'm talking about. So I can bring in all of this a lot more. I can play around with my colors now, right? Uh, Play around with the luminance of some of
It's
these
great, man.
colors, right? And so I just like this new way, because of the ease with which I can just
Yeah.
target
It's easy.
specific aspects of the image.
So
Yeah,
easy I can do
that's
Yeah.
so much easier.
So
it.
much easier. Yeah, it's become so much easier, to target set specific stuff in your
Yeah.
image and work on it. So
Mm.
this image, this is also from the same place,
Art Lake
Catholic, my
renamed Evans
favorite place.
Conservation Area.
uh, Shot from my DJI RS 2S. And for this one, similar thing, come to the mask. And what I want to show is the luminance range, right? We've done the color range. Now let's take a look at the luminance range.
Mm.
Luminance range basically targets, the brightness points of the image, right? So I want to target maybe just the dark parts of the image. So by clicking in here, as you can see, all the dark parts of that image is now selected,
Nice.
right? And so
So
let's
good.
say I want to take out this little portion right here. There is a couple of ways I can do it. You can try to feather your luminance, right here. Um, Include more, right? You can play with these sliders to make your selection or your mask as best as you want it to be, right? And I can also just do a subtract, take the brush tool or the gradient tool, paint out the parts that I don't want selected. And just like that, I am now at a point where I can just target those places, right? If you wanted to open up, which not this case, but darken up, or even bring in the shadows a little bit, um, you know,
Cool.
play around with those places. I want to make them a little bit more blue, so I can maybe, because these are the shadows, I can put a little bit more of a blue tint right into the shadows there, as much as you want. You have that options now to make easy selections. Like I said, some of these tools have existed for a while, but they are now a lot more easier to use, just because you can combine so many of them,
Hmm.
whilst you're masking out stuff. Right?
So now
If
when
you
you're
want
out
to,
shooting, you can plan for this because now
you
you
can
know that you can
plan
do this.
because now you know you can do
Now
this, so
you know
you
you
can
can do
plan.
this. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Mm.
Um, another one, luminance range. Maybe take the highlights inside here, and as you can see, I've selected just the highlights out there, and you can just decide to use the highlight adjustment tool and bring them down. You can see I'm targeting just those highlights, and so you
Yeah.
have a lot of options now, a lot of
Luminar who?
flexibility
Luminar
to
who?
create stuff,
I
right?
don't know
and
that.
and you see that now I can add a color tint to just that highlight. So imagine that you have a completely dull sky, right? And you want to push some color in there. You can play around. So with this, I can push this color maybe into this section, create a new mask. All right, select another luminance range. Maybe this time select this type of range right here. And I don't want the foreground, so I can now do a subtract, take the radar, take the linear gradient tool, and just like that, come up,
Mm.
come up, come up. And I have taken that selection out of the top, right? And I can now push a different color tint, right, into that areas.
Mm.
The limitless efforts and opportunities that this now brings us is
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yep, for
Great.
once, I'm happy with this upgrade that they did,
Yeah.
just because I think it's worth the upgrade.
That's paying the money, man.
I'm definitely gonna have to play with this.
Paying the money. So what? So
Yeah,
what? So what should be the next upgrade besides layers? Like what? What else? What else should they do?
they need to work on
um,
spot removal.
Spot removal. Yeah.
Spot removal, improve it
Yeah.
a little bit more,
Hmm.
because they already have that technology in Photoshop, right?
Yeah. Like why can't you
With
just
the
transfer it to
tool.
Lightroom?
Why can't you make Lightroom as good
Yeah.
as
I don't know.
the spot removal tool in
No
Photoshop?
idea.
I
No
think
idea.
that one is something they need to work on a little bit and introduce layers, right? Which means they can do it because they have layers here. Basically, these are just
Yeah,
layers of
those.
box that you're creating, right? So give us
Yeah.
that option to be able to create layers on top of this image.
Yeah. Team Photoshop versus Team Lightroom. The war will never end.
Yep.
Cool, man.
So that's it
Awesome.
for the night. That's
Cool. Shout out
you
Silver
know,
City. We're all going to the movies.
yeah.
I want to watch a
this
new Bond movie, but anyway.
this was shot during the pandemic. You can see nobody is there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The empty
Last year?
roads.
Last year?
Yeah, last year.
Oh yeah, good time. You also have like the ominous sky too, where it's like Armageddon's coming.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at the sky, man.
Yep.
Well, now
So
you can go to the movies, so it's fantastic.
yeah, now you can go to the movies, so which is good, right?
Yes.
I'm so excited with the selection tools that I've been playing with them. I was
Yeah,
editing some
cool.
wedding
Yeah.
photos, and
Is it faster for you? Like, is it faster?
it
Just
is.
for,
It's become a lot faster.
yeah.
Just because now I don't have to manually try to paint and try to perfect some of these selections. The auto selection tools does a good job for me from the beginning, and if
Yeah.
needed, I just have to refine that mask just to make it what I need it to be. But all in
Hmm.
all, it's been great.
Sweet, man. Shout out Adobe.
Mhm. Nice.
They're watching.
It's so amazing. Like, look at this image. You see how the sky is. I can just take
Yeah.
and all of a sudden work just on the skies alone in
Yeah.
just one simple click, right? So the speed and the effort of making all the selections it's
Time is
incredible.
money, man. Time is money. No one's got
Time is
time
money.
to
Yep.
sit around all day. But
Yep.
it's great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool, man. Everyone go check out Evan's video on this if you need a refresher on all this stuff. But just dive in and just click stuff. That's what I do. I'm actually trying to use Photoshop more now. Like Lightroom is saying, no, just use me more.
Yeah.
Thanks. Come over here.
Photoshop is good, right? But so for me personally, if I have a shoot where I'm only maybe delivering 5 to 10 images, yes, I can
Yeah.
have the option to spend all that time in Photoshop
Yeah.
working on those 10.
Yeah.
But for a wedding where I'm supposed to deliver maybe 500 images,
Yeah.
I'm not, gonna take all 500 one by one into Photoshop to work on
Oh
them.
god.
And so having
Mm.
this ability to be able to do some of these things right in Lightroom,
Yeah.
is a time saver, right? Going through these
Yeah.
images with that, like that.
I wish this would have come out couple weeks earlier when I was editing my
Yeah.
wedding.
You were like,
Jeez,
you're like,
damn.
I still have 14 hours of editing to do.
Uh,
I had just started editing the wedding we did Andre the other day.
okay.
I was almost halfway through it when I did the upgrade,
And then you're like, oh
and
shit.
it's like,
Oh.
what happened here?
I should have updated a long time
Uh,
ago. You know
uh,
how you just see the update, but you don't update because you just kind of like leave it? Always update because you never know what's in
You
there.
never know. Yeah.
You just
So,
never know.
a few minutes, but I will just walk you guys through some of the new presets that have been added.
Okay.
So now, Photoshop, Lightroom already includes some presets by Adobe, right?
Yeah.
And so you can see those presets right here. I think they have 75 new premium presets
Yeah.
added.
Yeah.
So you can come here under landscape, right? And you can just play around with some of these presets to give you a starting point if you need to, right?
okay.
But
Cool.
I usually
Yeah.
just go around creating my own presets as I work and I use them. Uh, but you have that option now to, you know, try out some of the included presets here. I have presets named after my daughters. so,
Cool.
so
Smart.
Hey, might as
Smart.
you
well.
can see
That's good.
you can see them here. I have
Yeah.
all of these presets. Whenever I create one, I just look at whose name comes up and I just give it to them. So
Nice. That's
That's
I've
cool.
cool.
got
I dig that.
presets here. So maybe someday I might be able to share some of these with our community as well. Some of
Yeah. Yeah.
presets I've worked on over the years. So um,
The
these
fall preset
presets
pack.
kind of gives out, yeah, the starting point. And once you have that
Yep.
starting point, you can work with it. So this is the before and this is the after with the preset, but not much of a difference, but just pops out the colors a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
Very good, Evans.
all
Yeah.
right.
Thanks for sharing that,
I
man.
hope this was beneficial to the community.
Very, very
Uh,
beneficial.
Hmm.
like I said, we're here to impact some of what we learn to the community and learn from you guys as well. So hopefully you guys pick something
Yeah.
out from it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. So
We're
Andre,
gonna.
any last words from you?
Uh, get out there. Use some of these new tools for
Oh
your
man.
fall colors challenge.
Good, actually.
I
Now
had
you
to.
can target that leave.
Yep.
Yeah, you could. You could. No leaves allowed, actually.
I know that's actually very good. I'm gonna actually go play with some of these now. So
Yeah. Andre has to redo all of his work that he just did for the wedding.
no, they're delivered. So
They're
that's
delivered.
done. That's like
Yay.
that chapter check.
Yeah, and,
That's
and
good.
by the way, if you have your own presets and stuff, right? When you work with them, they still work because the tools are still the same, right? So you
Yeah.
have your targeted adjustment tools, the luminance tools, the brush. The only thing that are new is just the sky and the subject. All of these are just existing tools that have been revamped or redesigned.
Mm.
So all your old presets and stuff, they still work. So even if you go to your old edits and you're looking for stuff you did with the linear gradients and stuff, you will find them all still under the mask section.
Cool.
Sweet. I love technology.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
crazy how far it's gone.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
amazing how easy
You don't
things
need to leave
are
the house
getting.
anymore. You can
Yep.
just sit and click stuff. It's gonna put us out of a job.
All right. I think our time is up. Paul, any last words
Yeah.
from you?
Thanks, Evans, for the presentation. Very well done. Very very professional. Adobe would be proud, and they should use this for their homepage for the Lightroom.
I wish.
Imagine, imagine it's just us like explaining what the update is. Oh. Wonder what we get paid for that. Anyway, yeah, thanks for jumping on. Hopefully, you learned a few things. Hopefully, it gets you excited to edit photos because I think editing's a lot of fun. And yeah, hopefully see some of you Sunday, and then maybe we can take some shots and we can edit those photos too. So we'll see you Sunday, or we'll see you next week, whatever comes first or last, or however it works.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. As usual, we will see you next week on one channel.
Probably mine,
Probably Paul's. Yeah.
because
And I will leave everybody's link
see.
at the end. I'm
With
gonna
the
add
link.
everybody's links
Thank
in
you.
there. Check
See you,
everyone
Randall.
out,
See you Sunday.
guys. All right. Have a
Peace.
wonderful rest of the night.
See ya.
Peace.